That's Calexico from their 2003 album, Feast of Wire. Over the past 20 years, the album's stature has just grown and grown, and now the band is bringing their 20th anniversary tour to New Zealand. Here's Calexico's Joey Burns and his thoughts about Feast of Wire then and now.
Love the run, but not the race.
I still feel really connected to the songs. And I think more than any other record, we've played a majority of these songs, the songs with lyrics, that is, we played them consistently over the past 20 years.
Yep.
And so I think that says something about the time, about the quality of the songs, the quality of the songwriting and the lyrics and all that stuff. And they're just really fun to play. And so looking at this, I was like, oh, well, this will be pretty easy then, because we kind of know these songs already. There's just a few that we don't play. And those have become really enjoyable to play, as well as the instrumentals. Those, I think the instrumentals are the things that the people who are watching, but also the band and crew, really enjoy those moments. Even, live, I would think it'd be more of a thing that you'd appreciate on record or just driving your car, but people really enjoy having just an instrumental. And so, I've always been a big fan of like Santo and Johnny. That song Sleepwalk, huh? Yeah. And a lot of instrumental music, Ennio Morricone and the Ventures and all the moments in popular music where there is just instrumental breaks. I love, and I grew up playing garage rock and jazz and classical, and it's that improvisational element, which comes a lot from the instrumentals, really is what kind of makes the world go around. It's such a natural part of who we are, having a pause, having a break. And I think having those interspersed on this album and then performed live, it's sort of like, it feels like a soundtrack, even more so.
Right. It's interesting because no, I don't think anybody considers you guys a jam band per se, or even a jazz outfit, but you definitely step into those little spaces with the way you guys approach, especially the instrumental bits. But even
we kind of embody a lot of different worlds and abilities as musicians and genres and instruments and languages, and I love it. I'm just a big fan of music in general, no matter where it's from or what language it's being sung in.
Right. Now, speaking of being a fan, I think you guys just performed in Dublin in Ireland a little while ago, and of course you lost Shane MacGowan overnight. I was wondering if you have any thoughts about him.
I sure do. I think in the early 90s, I really got into the Pogues music, and I think it might have been around the time, I don't know what time it was, but I remember going to see the Pogues play in LA. I was really excited. It was on that Summer of Siam tour. And unfortunately, Shane wasn't there, but Joe Strummer stepped in to sing.
Right, yeah.
He worked on the record. And, I got super drunk. I lost my mind. I was wearing this crucifix that I had gotten in Ireland. I grew up not knowing I had Irish relatives living. And so in the early 90s, I got to connect with them. And then I was wearing this crucifix. And during the show, like, I looked down and the body was gone, but the head was still connected to the string.
Oh,
right.
Whoa.
I think there's something about that. It's sort of a symbolic gesture of like, you kind of, you lose yourself, right? And most certainly Shane is such a beautiful writer, very romantic and traditional in some ways, but trapped inside of this punk rocker's body. And, the son of Irish immigrants trying to find out who he is and try to fit in and not fitting in and just kind of losing himself and enjoying the fact that people are just mortified of what he's doing and how he's treating himself. And yet his voice is one of my favorite, male vocals. I mean, I love his style of singing. It's because there's so much character there and so much emotion that can be, squeezed out. And And I really liked what he said too about not wanting to meet some of his idols. He didn't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
And I liked some of the things that he said, and I loved the music, and I loved that he was, trying to find himself through the Pogues, and going to this kind of traditional Irish way. And then at a certain point, he needed to go deeper, and I think he struggled with trying to find a healthy way to do that. And so he had to wrestle quite a few demons. And it's great that he came out the other side and found peace and love with his wife Victoria. I was really happy to see that, and had been following for a while and always wondering what happened to Shane, where's he at? And I knew certain people that were connected to the Irish music scene, so I could kind of like try to find out a scoop. And of course I would have loved to have met him, but I also didn't want to, because I was afraid that it would be like just not a pretty thing. And but I really admired his work, and his embracing sort of like Celtic tradition of songwriting, and especially the music, has deeply influenced me. And I can give you examples on every single record of ours where there is that relative minor use of chords. Say, for instance, you're in C major, you go to A minor, and that is me in a nutshell. that is. So I really relate to those songs, and there are just, I have so much profound thanks and praise for what he's done. And I love his spirit too. I love being a freak, being a punk, and yet being himself, and embracing his roots, and yet trying to find deeper meaning in his life. That is all of us, and I like the way he unfurled his feathers. I love that. And just being really kind of traditionally romantic, really, it's just beautiful. During the pandemic, we were writing an album, not so much about Christmas, but sort of like winter and holidays, I guess. But we did embrace some songs. But I wrote a song that was really inspired by Shane's writing. It's called "Hear the Bells."
Hear the bells ringing out, let them ring on New Year's Day. Last out on the hill near the mission, where lovers meet and when poppies bloom. I followed the ranchers rambling down Broadway, selling crops on the side of the road.
I was kind of thinking about him and putting a character like him in Tucson through my eyes.
Right.
So
Yeah, beautiful. He definitely left his mark.
He did. Yeah, and the fact that, like he's coming from this whole punk rock background too, I love that. I relate to him on a lot of different levels. Kind of him searching through folkloric music and world music, mostly of his own heritage, but also otherwise. I really identify with that. And then it makes you question, like, well, why should he be doing this? Because he's a punk rocker. What does he know about this or that? And I thoroughly appreciate all that he did in that regard, especially.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That's
man.
Now, on a happier note, there's another person that you worked with that I spoke to recently, Barbara Manning. You remember this record?
Oh yeah, man. That was such 97. That was such a great tour, such a great
I saw the
album
shows.
experience. Did you? Yeah, that's great. Where, in Auckland or where?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Power station. Yeah, and man, what a incredible lady and musician and songwriter. She planned that tour so well. We got to see, the glowworm caves in Waitomo. We got to meet all her heroes in New Zealand and play with them, record with them.
They're all on the record. It's great.
That's amazing. Pretty amazing. It's pretty cool.
What did you know about New Zealand music and those folks when because the bats and
Yeah.
tall dwarfs?
No.
And
Yeah. No. I before that I was working at SST Records
oh, yeah.
and in '89, and somebody turned me onto the clean,
Right.
and so I really appreciated that. And then I heard about the bats and tall dwarves and stuff, and then Graham Downs and so yeah, I mean, I had been following along, and then Barbara was telling us and educating us even
Yep.
more about some of her favorite artists, like the 3Ds, and so we had a great time, really. And David Kilgour was our driver, tour manager, and guitar player. So
You can't
I
get a
mean,
better guide than
yeah, I
that.
know it's pretty amazing. Really great. And Chris Knox and his beautiful family. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
just they're just the sweetest. And we wound up running into each other a couple times out there in the decades after. And I think the last time I was in New Zealand, I think I did see his wife. And so just and I'll never forget getting to hang out in Dunedin. What a great town, and we really had some wonderful, wonderful times. Really,
Yep. Yep.
jeez.
Yeah, that sounds like it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Very good.
I'm glad that John has been in touch with Barbara, and I wrote her a little bit too, and we're just really proud of her for doing what she needs to do, and then coming back and
Yep.
being a
Yep.
badass, man.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
so incredible.
Yes, she is. Very good. Now back to you guys. So when you guys are touring with this record, who else is in the band? I'm curious because it could be
Sure,
any number of
sure.
folks or all or
Yeah,
none.
yeah, right. We, who knows? Yeah, we're going to have with us the same people that were on tour with us just this past tour. So Martin Vank, who's from Germany, we've been playing with him for 25 years, and he's a multi-instrumentalist, born and raised in Germany, but just this incredible music pouring out of him. He plays trumpet, accordion, guitar, slide, sampler, vibes, keyboards, whistle, and sings.
Yep.
So he's kind of he's hard to replace,
Right. Right.
and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
such a charming person to be around. And then also we've been playing with Jacob Valenzuela from Tucson for 23 years now.
Yep.
He's on trumpet, vocals, percussion, vibes, keys, suavecito. He's the one who's teaching us all how to dance. Sergio Mendoza from Nogales, Arizona, and Mexico, but now lives in Tucson. A keyboard player, playing samples, playing key bass, playing accordion, singing. Kind of he helps me out a lot with the musical direction and how are we going to arrange all this? He's just an incredible friend and musician. And then lastly, John on the drums, of course, Brian Lopez on guitar and sometimes on bass, also on vocals. Incredible musician and singer-songwriter in his own right.
Right. Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. So
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Epic.
So I know you guys put out a record last year. Are you thinking in terms of what you're going to do next?
Always. Yeah, always. There's so many different things that are kind of laid in front of us. One of which is a theater project. So I'm a little nervous about that one, but but I'm also kind of like John's like, we need to do something different.
Right.
Let's just focus on something totally different. I'm like, you're right. You're always right. So let's do that. But collaborations is always the thing that I'm most interested in. And there's quite a few artists out there, both old and new, that I would love to just do some music, whether in person or remotely. I would love to collaborate with.
Who's on the newer side that you have your eye on?
Hermanos Gutierrez they're from Switzerland, but their dad is Ecuadorian.
Right.
And they do instrumental. They're just two-piece. They're very much in that scope of Santo and Johnny.
Right.
And a lot of early Calexico. I mean, when I heard their music, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like we are in the same band. So I want to do something with them. And they're really beautiful people. I got to meet them, and they're open for the challenge. So there's a group out of LA that is instrumental. I'm not sure if they really need us, but it would be fun to try to do something with them, whether on stage or on record. They're called La Lom, Lom.
Oh,
Beautiful kind of like Mark Rebo style guitar, but
right.
in a in a in an old vintage Supro guitar, Latin cumbia kind of music. Just beautiful, beautiful aesthetics, beautiful music and people. And who else? I mean, there's so many singer-songwriters, female singer-songwriters that I'd like to work with. Courtney Marie Andrews is one of them,
Oh
who's
yeah, yep, yep.
from she's from Arizona too. So
She's been up here in my studio a
oh,
long
great.
time ago.
Yeah, I think she's headed to Australia right now.
Yeah.
But I would love to do something together and do it in Arizona,
Yeah.
and see what we could do. I just think I would love to sing with her. So that's just a scraping a
Sounds
long
like
list of things I'd like to do. I had this idea of doing a record in Tennessee and picking a couple cities. So one city would be the A side, and then the other city would be the B
Oh,
side.
that's cool.
And I'll give you a hint. One of them's Memphis. So
Well, there you go.
that's what I like to do at some point.
And
And just
Nashville on the other side.
yeah, could be,
Could be.
could be, could be.